Hello there, welcome back. My name is Elena.
And I'm Fotios, and this is the Game Code.
And we finally played the Oranienburger Kanal by Uwe Rosenberg, and this is our post-game discussion.
Yes, so we're going to review the game, basically, as we usually do after a playthrough.
A bit of a debrief.
Yes, and this discussion will also include our thoughts about this particular playthrough, but also our general thoughts about the game.
The game itself.
Yeah,
so, how did you think it went?
Well, in this we've played the game now 3 or 4 times, I think.
Yeah.
And so far, Elena was a bit struggling, should I say, with the game.
Yeah,
but this particular game, I think it clicked for you better.
I don't know how, I just couldn't. So at the beginning, well, we'll talk about our strategies in a minute, but I won.
Yes, she won with 17 points difference, 125 to 108.
Can we just say, last time I scored 103 and in the low hundreds, I think, and you scored significantly more.
I think so far our lowest score is around 100 and our highest score is around 130. So this is our range.
Our range. I'm not entirely sure what the range is, though. Really,
we might not be a good place anyway. So
I mean, given that there are not many reviews over there, not many playthroughs, it's a bit hard to actually compare.
Yes.
But all in all, though, these were our scores.
Yes. So yeah, Elena did win this playthrough, and our strategies were quite different. In the beginning of the game, I did more routes, Elena did more structures, and as you can see from our boards here, Elena did so many more bridges than me, which allowed her to reactivate her buildings extra times.
So when I was saying earlier, I said I'm going to mention it. What I was actually trying to say is, when we played in the past, it happened that I didn't understand how to actually play the game. I mean, it feels like it's a route building
I wouldn't say you didn't understand how to play the game. You didn't, you knew the rules.
I didn't know what strategy to approach.
Exactly.
So firstly, I tried, because, the game has negative points at the end of not building routes.
Yes.
I firstly thought that, this might be the winning thing.
I need to go there.
I did that and I lost terribly. And then I said, maybe it's about buildings. So I started building a lot of buildings, and it was not the good buildings that I was building. I was just building for volume rather than anything else.
Yes.
And that made me lose as well. And I was quite frustrated. I wasn't sure what to do. And we tried, and I tried some bridges, but I wasn't 100% sure how to use them. But I think it's an element of luck as well involved in it, where you have to have the right cards that you can actually what's the word I'm looking for?
Yes, to interact them. Or
interact is not the word I'm looking for, but you know what I mean. To make the combinations, to connect them, make a combination.
So, for instance, here, these cards here that Elena has, all 4 cards here require canals to activate, basically. And she had her canals here. She puts all the cards for the canals here, and this was a good bunch of her points.
Also, I mean, I could have probably improved my points more by changing one of the paths into canals, overbuild over it. But I think that most of the times, unless that's going to actually activate a card or maximize your points, I think it's a bit of a kind of half lost action, I would say.
Yes,
but I mean, it's probably an option if you need it.
Now, if you're familiar with other Uwe Rosenberg games, you will know that generally there's a lot of punishing element. You have to feed your people, or you have to pay your loans, or whatever.
Kill your animals to eat.
Or fill your board as well in Feast for Odin, for instance. But here, it's not as punishing if you don't fill your routes. It's very minor points, and you want to do routes anyway to activate the buildings.
Yes.
So it will naturally come, I think.
I think that was one of my worries, because knowing other Uwe Rosenberg games, I was a bit like, if I don't do that a lot, I will never win. And I did it, and I still didn't win. So the game is not very punishing at all. Actually, it's quite rewarding.
And for me, the way it plays, it reminds me a little bit of Le Havre, in the sense that which buildings you're buying, which becomes your own tableau. Now your opponent cannot really visit your buildings, as in Le Havre. All the buildings themselves are not working placement positions, but they can only activate a number of times in the game.
Yeah.
And like Le Havre, there's a bit of let's say resource. If you wish, I have ore and make it points, so
you swap one for the other. It's all like this market element,
exactly.
Isn't it? Also, the same element as Le Havre, I've just noticed. Because it's a 2-player, and we normally play Le Havre in 2. God forbid, I don't think I could try it in more than 2. You have this element of 3 actions per round and 2 actions per round, and then it swaps.
It's 4 and 3.
4 and 3?
4 and 3 in Le Havre, 7 positions in Le Havre, and here
but
is
this one kind
5.
of adapts
Yes,
to
correct,
the same,
correct.
isn't it?
Yes.
Right. What do you think of the setup of the game?
Well, setup is not very very long, basically what you have to do is take all the components out of bags and make piles of components. As you can see there, we have the piles of roots.
Piles over there.
And that's basically the setup. It's quite easy.
Very fast.
It's quite easy.
I mean, the box is quite big for what the game is, and honestly, the game is big for 2-player, and it takes quite a long time to play, and it's quite satisfying, which is lovely. But setup is very minimal.
When you say long time to play, maybe
for a 2-player game, I mean.
Yes, for a 2-player game, I would say maybe. Oh yes, for a 2-player only game. That's correct. It's maybe for us is. All games we have had so far is above an hour, I would say.
Yeah. And it's maybe quite significant for a 2-player game, isn't it?
It's a crunchy game, though. I mean, it requires a lot of thought, even if the premise of the worker placement here is very simple. Only 7 positions to visit, out of which 5 will be occupied every round. This is the easy part, but how you optimize your tableau is quite hard.
Because technically what you do is very simple. You build a building that you pay with, and you build paths and routes.
Paths and routes and bridges.
And that's it.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's what you technically do, but it's the strategy behind it, isn't it?
Yeah, and all the cards in every game are different. And talking about cards, there are so many cards in the game, and you don't know which cards are going to appear. So I had a lot of rails in this game, and not many rail cards appeared, so it didn't help me in my strategy. You have here one deck of cards. You see the amount of green, orange, and blue cards that we didn't play with, and there are 6 of these decks. If you have the expansions as well. So there's so much variability in the game.
Yeah, I mean, that's technically the only thing that makes the game, the cards themselves, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's the way you can build your strategy. Because like I started with Railway and it didn't really work for me, but for whatever reason Canal worked for me this time. So I just built, I think the game is a little bit opportunistic as well, in the sense of it's probably good to just pursue whatever works for you.
Exactly.
Rather than whatever you want to build. I think it only worked for me. And I'm only talking about this time because this is the only time that the game worked for me. But it did work very well, and because I was very opportunistic, really.
And the interaction of the game between the players comes from basically 2 aspects: the worker placement positions and the market. That's the 2 interaction aspects. And worker placement is one of the basic mechanics of the game, and the other basic mechanic is the resource management here, I would say, where it's done by this resource wheel, which is also an element of another Uwe Rosenberg game, the Glass Road.
And I just want to say, given that this only has a certain amount of, how many? 7 of them?
7 positions,
7 positions. And the cards are not that many either, and they only open for the next round. It's quite challenging, and it's quite a competition. If you want to have a look at our playthrough, and you'll understand what I mean.
Yeah.
But it is quite, if you cannot leave it for later because you will get punished for it.
Yes, absolutely. Now, the game can be played solo as well, apart from 2 players, but we haven't tried that way. But there are some good reviews out there for solo plays that you might want to check out. We discussed already about the length of the game, which is quite on the crunchy side, and we like it. I like
a crunchy game. Yes.
I like the length.
Yes, and I think it's appropriately sized to 2 players, which I like very much. Most of the games that you might play, because we play in 2 most of the times, most of the games that you will play at 2 that normally they can size up to 4 players, 5 players or whatnot, don't play as good all the time, but this one feels quite nicely packed, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
I like that.
I could see this game with a bigger board here to be a 4-player game, for instance, or up to 4 players. But I really appreciate the fact that it's a 2-player only game.
I like that. It's quite unique, isn't it?
Yes, exactly.
There are not very many games out there that offer you the same complexity and the same length of play for 2 players only,
yes.
Isn't it?
This is something very good. Now, we talk about replayability with a unlimited, infinite deck of cards and combinations of cards you can do here. Now, about the quality of the game is
neither here nor there.
I mean, it's a standard.
Everything is just
game.
It's just as basic as anything. There are no figurines. There are no the tokens are cardboard. But I don't think it puts me off from playing the game whatsoever. Would I like a bit more, bling and a bit more?
I see.
Yes, but do I mind not having it? Oh.
We do have a 3D printer, but I wouldn't consider for this game printing
I think
anything.
The game is so sound as is that it doesn't.
Exactly.
I like the paths as they are and the canals and everything. It looks just as good.
And I like these stacks
that
like
idea,
that, and you
yes.
put like that, and you block the positions like that slowly. This is very nice.
Yeah, I like the mechanics of it, and it looks very good, and it feels very nice, particularly when you put the chips and you're like, my turn, thank you very much.
Yeah, and then I'll go there, and then you go.
I like the ideas, yes.
You don't need a blink for the player, for these tokens, or for the resources. I mean, you don't have you have just only one iron that represents all the iron you have, and here's how you track it basically, which is very convenient.
I think, all the game is just convenient, and it just plays well, and it's a sound game.
Should I also mention that it comes with an amazing play rate, which I will show here, like that, and it has basically all the action, what happens.
Oh, if we mention books, I'm going to mention the Bible of this,
yes, the Bible.
Of this game, which is this
appendix,
I would say, and this glossary thing that has absolutely every single explanation of all the cards within the base game, and every expansion has one of these babies to tell you about all the cards.
Indeed. So yeah, that's our discussion, post-game discussion, and also a review of Oranienburger Kanal. I would say it's a game that I really like. It's quite different from whatever else we have in our collection.
Yes, I agree. Let us know if you have your eyes on it, or you might be interested in playing something like that, because it's quite a unique game, and it's
a bit hard to find as well.
Yeah, that's the only problem, isn't it? But we truly recommend it. It's a very nice game.
So yeah, that was our video for a review of Oranienburger Kanal. Thank you so much for watching.
See you later.
Bye.